For the 2016 season, the Rams, Chargers, and Raiders all decided they wanted to move Los Angeles. They all had ideas to create a state-of-the-art facility in the city. The NFL owners came together and voted and decided to let the Chargers and Rams play in LA. The Raiders decided to move to Las Vegas at the start of the 2020 season. This set in motion the planning for a $5.5 billion stadium that accommodated 70,000 plus fans that is now known as SoFi Stadium. After the NFL owners came and voted, construction started roughly 10 months after. They used 5 million plus cubic yards of excavation that was often delayed due to the 15.4 inches of rain in the first 4 months of the job. 144 cubic yards of concrete were used, and there's also a 2.2 million pound video board hanging from the ceiling. It can accommodate 70,000 plus sport fans and 100,000 plus people if it's a concert or other social event. 17,000 plus tradesmen worked throughout the job, accumulating over 12 million man hours on the project. A little bit about the construction strategy, as it was a joint venture between AECOM Hunt and Turner Construction. These are two of the largest construction companies in the United States, and not much information on the bidding process. Both companies provided superintendents and project managers to organize different portions of the projects, different areas, different parts of the project, whether it be exterior, interior, finish, structural. Thousands of tradesmen and subs had to be contracted out. They had to be scheduled. They had to be organized, and this was all jointly done between two different companies. A little bit of extra delays and unscheduled things that you can't really accommodate for were COVID-19, obviously, in 2020, and then the ridiculous amount of rain that happened at the beginning of the project, as well as issues with the FAA being around right by LAX and Inglewood. They had to install a $29 million radar at LAX so that way they could actually approve the project. They also had to get all large equipment the go ahead from the FAA before they could bring it on site.
Thanks, Schmidt. Now we'll talk a little bit about the scheduling strategies used by AECOM Hunt and Turner on the Rams SoFi Stadium. There's not a lot that's out there on exactly what kind of scheduling methods they use, but due to AECOM Hunt and Turner being two of the largest, it's assumed that they used some type of modified CPM schedule, just as that's the most efficient and really the best way to be able to keep track of a project of this size. On the very top of the screen, there's a very basic low-level kind of pictograph schedule that they had put out for the public to see. And so you can see after all of excavation was finished in May of 17, they started stabilizing pretty much the earth with their retaining walls and such, and then started running the utilities, and that moved into the steel bowl erection for the entire stadium. Then they started actually putting in their retention walls and their slab, and then they started placing the columns and the steel roof, which was part of the largest and the longest part to this project, as it's all one big roof made out of steel. It's a very neat looking deal. And then moving through, and by the beginning of this year, 2020, they were into the finishes. They were in top out. They were 85% done with that. And so when they lost out all of their original float days due to the rain that Schmidt had talked about from December of 16 to February of 2017, that moved the project to 2020. When they added in that aircraft identifying system, they were able to move around their schedule and their logistics so that it did not add any extra days, which really speaks to how well that they had the project in hand. And then when COVID hit, it messed up a lot of things around the world, unfortunately, in the construction world too. But the California state government allowed construction to continue happening as it was deemed as an essential infrastructure project. So while it still was able to go on, they had less people, especially because they were in top out. They were doing all of the finishes inside. So they kind of had to move some stuff around and less guys, but more time. But thanks to their scheduling system or strategies that they had implemented, they were still able to get it done, and they would have been ready for the concert in July had COVID not continued to be a problem. We'll do a little bit of a financial analysis on this. So the entire stadium cost $5.5 billion, which is incredibly unheard of. The most expensive stadium sports center in the entire world. Um, so that's just off the bat, that's going to be a hard number to beat. They, based on the amount of seats and just an average of what tickets go for. Now, this estimation number is going to be lower than what is actually, but right now it's higher because of COVID. So we'll just run with this number. It's an estimated $100 million in ticket sales annually between the Chargers and the Rams games, plus your parking fees and concessions that you sell. And one thing that they were doing to be able to try and pay for this whole stadium was Stan Kroenke was doing what he was calling a single seat ticket license. And so it's pretty much like a 40 or 50-year loan, essentially, that someone will buy the rights to one single seat in the stadium. And it goes anywhere from, for the Rams, it goes from anywhere from $15,000 all the way up to $100,000 per single seat. And that guarantees you the right for life to be able to sit in that same seat for every single football game. Now, the Chargers have the same kind of deal, but their numbers are a little bit lower. They're more in the 15,000 to 75,000 range, with the majority of them being lower than that. And then on top of that, you also still have to pay for your game tickets. They received a loan from the NFL for $500 million, which, again, that's not a lot when it comes to a project like this. Is, that's just under 10% of this stadium was financed by the NFL. But when you start to look to the future, so you have the Super Bowl in 2022, the College Football National Championship in 2023, the World Cup in 2026, and then the Summer Olympics opening and closing ceremonies will be held there in 2028, which all will bring incredible revenue to SoFi Stadium as well as the surrounding area. So hopefully Stan Kroenke can work a deal with the city of Inglewood, where the stadium actually is, to try and get some type of money back, just because he is really bettering the whole area just by having this incredible stadium in there. And then on top of the football games and all of those huge events coming up in the next 8 years, it can also do concerts, which will bring in roughly 100,000 people for each concert, and they'll be running concerts in the off season from pretty much start of March all the way through into July. So there's really plenty of money to be made here. Just on with the ticket sales and the single seat licenses, the stadium would pay for itself in about 42 years. And so finally, we have the completion of the project and the completion of our presentation. It officially was finished in August of 2020, and they had a ribbon cutting ceremony the 8th of September, right before the SoFi Stadium officially opened up for its intended use, which was September 13th of this year, 2020. And it was broadcasted all over NBC for their Sunday night football coverage of the Los Angeles Rams and the Dallas Cowboys playing. And the stadium was put on. They really did a good highlight, and has been the major spectacle of the entire NFL. In the future, it's actually supposed to open next year, I think mid 2021. They're going to be adding an NFL media campus, which is where the NFL media, which is like NFL.com, the NFL Network, etc., will all be housed in this one singular location. right off of SoFi Stadium, and so everything NFL wise, NFL media wise, will be going out of there. And then the city of Inglewood is adding more infrastructure to the area. They're working with surrounding areas as well. They're going to be adding in a high speed rail line that's coming into the stadium or near the stadium, and then shuttles and such. So all in all, it was an incredible project, and SoFi Stadium is really a sight to see. I hope once COVID's over, maybe in the next 10 years, I'll be able to get a chance to go out there and catch a game there. But incredible project to kind of dissect and make a presentation on. Thank you.